Excited to be here. I am actually broadcasting live from Florida. So, there's a lot going on in the world, but we ain't going to talk about none of that now. We're going to talk about music. I'm really excited today. I'm getting a chance to do some things that I've been wanting to do for a long time. Before I continue to tell you what that's going to be, I want to thank Open Studio Network, Peter Martin, Dan, and the whole crew there, and Rachel. They are incredible. And it's funny, man. I remember years ago when Peter asked me to be part of Open Studio Network. I had no idea the amount of people and artists that would be part of it. And then furthermore, all of you all that are now supporting it. So I'm really thankful. When Peter and I first talked about bringing me on board, he said, hey, Ulysses, we already have a wonderful artist, Greg Hutchinson on board. What do you want to bring to the table? And so I said, well, man, ain't too much I can say that Hutch hasn't said, but I do think that I have a certain perspective that could be an addition to what he's doing. And so that's basically what Finding Your Beat was. That really came from Don't Miss a Beat, which is an organization I have here in Jacksonville. But it also came from Finding Your Beat is also finding your sound, finding you. As I get a chance to teach all over the world, one of the questions I get a lot is, how do I find my sound? And the way that I introduce sort of the answer to that is I always say to people, you already have your sound, right? Like just by mere fact of you existing, when you speak and open your mouth, and when you write, or when you walk in a room, when you greet people, you already have something that's very original about you. And so what I end up teaching people is that what we want to do is figure out how to get back to that original place, or how do we actually become comfortable with that original place. So Finding Your Beat is all about first understanding the tradition of this music, understanding our masters, understanding the form, understanding how to play. And the only way you can understand how to play is to study those that played before. Then in addition to that, how do you then find your voice within that? So I'm going to go through a little bit of what Finding Your Beat is about. Then I have a special guest today, which is Greg Hutchinson, which he is so incredible, which I'll talk about all of that later. But I'm going to play a little bit for y'all because I love to play, and I think we need it right now. So I'm going to move this mic over just a touch and get some playing happening. Hope you enjoy. So Yeah, that was me getting some of these hands warmed up. So finding your beat has a lot of different lessons in it. Probably, I think, close to 20, 30 lessons. But I'm just going to focus on about 4 or 5 points today and then bring on Hutch. So the first thing I want to focus on is the Spangling Pattern. The Spangling Pattern is something that is really, really signature to playing jazz as a drummer. And that pattern I'll sort of speak about it as it pertains to 4/4 time. So 4/4 time, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You have the hi-hat on 2 and 4, beat 2 and 4. I like to feather the bass drum. You know, I'll actually be talking to Hutch about that as well. But when you're feathering the bass drum, it's on all 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you have the ride cymbal, and that's playing what's called the Spangling Pattern. I'll move this here. And that basically is Spangling, 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 Spangling. And the cool thing about the Spangling Pattern, you really want to make sure that you are really just getting that to sound good by itself. Even a lot of times, man, I spent hours in my practice room, you know, at Juilliard and even before I got to college, just playing the ride cymbal, literally just saying, how do I make this feel like this? And there's another thing I talk about in the course as well with the ride cymbal, where I talk a lot about something called the sweet spot. And the sweet spot is where you really get into that part of the cymbal that is really consistent and you can really play into it, and it rings and sustains, and that beat carries over and with it carrying over, it carries the whole band, right? So you want to get to that place. And so I always do what I like to call the sweet spot test. And that test basically is you have the bell of the ride cymbal here. Then you go about right here to the edge. So I always tell drummers, go to the part of the cymbal that's really consistent and has that meaty, thick, you know, fat sound. It's about right here. Now, here's the thing. You can play wherever you want on the cymbal. You can play up here. You can even play down here. But it's a lot of wash there, right? So I actually remember on one of the Open Studio comments on YouTube, somebody, because they posted this lesson about the sweet spot, and somebody said, oh man, that's total BS. I mean, I like Ulysses, but that's total BS. And so my response is, hey, you can play wherever you want to play on the cymbal. However, there's results to playing in a really consistent place on the cymbal, which allows people to hear your beat, which makes them want to play with you, right? So when you look at the masters like Philly Joe and Kenny Clark and all the great drummers that we love, they have a very consistent place that they play. They may not call it the sweet spot, right? So I may have given it a language or a terminology, but if you study a lot of the masters, they played in a very focused place. And I remember years ago when I played with Moger Miller and he mentored me many, years before his death, he talked a lot about Ulysses. You have to really make sure that you play in a place in the cymbal that allows that groove to radiate the band. He said from your cymbal, you can make the whole band feel really good. And so those are really important things, is to learn that Spangling pattern, the traditional pattern, which comes from Kenny Clark. Kenny Clark was the first drummer that really invented that pattern. And I'll kind of show you a little bit about that evolution. So before Kenny Clark, from what I understand, by talking to drummers like Kenny Washington and others, and again, we can talk about this later if someone brings up the question once Hutch hops on. But from what I understand, you had a lot of big band drummers sort of playing, like this. So the Spangling pattern had already kind of been in the sort of the aura. It had already been out there. And the way we got to that was a lot of drummers in New Orleans playing on the snare drum. Start playing this. And Kenny Clark came along and did this. Actually, one of the first Kenny Clark records I heard was Miles Davis's Walkin'. And it's funny because Kenny Clark actually played more of a straighter Spangling. And I love drummers like him and Connie Kay and even Art Taylor. They had kind of that more of like a, I like to call it a swag, but they had more of that straight eighth feel. Right? So you get that Spangling hooked up, you'll be able to make so much good happen on the bandstand for yourself, but more importantly for the band. Because I always say, as a drummer, our primary role is to be timekeepers. Yeah, we get a chance to solo, we get a chance to do all this other stuff, especially for those of us that like to be band leaders. But typically, I think our primary role is to make people sound good and to be the timekeeper. The next thing that is really important that I talk about as well on finding your beat is really, I built a course around a lot of questions that people had, because by the time Finding Your Beat was released, a lot of people were starting to send me a lot of messages on social media. I had a certain amount of records out there. So people had very specific things. And I'll tell you, like, the 3 or 4 things everybody asked me, which is sort of, I think, my signature or what people love about my playing, is they always ask, how do you play fast, right? The second thing they ask is, how do you play brushes? And then the third thing I get asked a lot is, how do you play, how are you so versatile? You're on this big band record, you're doing this, you're playing funk stuff. I've heard you on, Ulysses Owens Jr.'s record versus McBride's big band record versus Kurt Elling's record. Like, you're playing a lot of different ways. And it's funny because those questions actually lead to what I think are signature about my own playing. I think that I've been really fortunate to be versatile, because I had to be. I mean, I grew up playing in church, and so that was like my first introduction to music. And then I got introduced to jazz when I was about 13, 14. Then my first introduction to playing jazz was actually big band at high school. Then I started playing small group. But, living in Jacksonville, Florida, I had to play in a lot of different bands, bluegrass, reggae, I mean, all kind of stuff. So I've always had this love of all music, and that's sort of been part of my career, is to be versatile as it pertains to playing fast and being clear when I play fast. I always say to people, what you play fast, you must be able to play slow. And a big part of my playing is also my classical training. I studied classical percussion for over 10 years. And so that is a huge part of, I think, the clarity and having the technique together to play fast, right? And then, again, playing the brushes, I've been really fortunate to study with a lot of great people. But again, through all those things that people are asking, I put all of that in Finding Your Beat. And so this next thing that I'm going to focus on, which I mentioned, is how do you play slow, then fast? People always say, well, how did you play so fast on Cherokee? And I always say to them, I kept practicing what I did fast, slow. So for instance, when I'm playing Cherokee, I'll start first with sticks. I'm playing, so I'll say, one of the first people that I think about who played fast and played fast better than anybody is the great Max Roach. So, but to go back to slow, so again, it's the thing I first taught you. Speed it up. Now, obviously, there's a lot of mechanics happening there, right? Which some of it I'll go into. I like to play further back on my stick. I started doing that because I record myself religiously when I practice. And I record myself so I can listen and hear certain things that I may physically feel and wondering how does that translate sonically. So when I used to play up here, I was rushing a lot. When I pulled back on the stick, I really liked where I was, and my beat got much wider, and the wider my beat got, it was easier for me to play with a lot of different kind of bass players. So that's something that's really important for me, but you can go wherever you want on the stick. Another key thing to me to playing fast is the kind of stick you use. I like to use nylon, but also more than the nylon and even the brand of stick is the taper. When you have a thinner taper here, it's easier to throw. So for me, a thinner taper helps me to be able to play consistent and play fast. Because it's lighter, it's not too top heavy, versus if you're using, which I use in my left hand, something that has a thicker taper. I can still play fast, but I have a little bit more resistance. So I find that using something a little thinner really helps for me. And then I would just say, do not play fast until you can appropriately play slow, and also the many different tempos. So, practice your metronome, like at 60, wherever, like down here, get that feeling really nice and smooth. Then move on up. Then move up. So don't rush yourself. Don't get to the point where you're trying to play fast and you're like, if you can't play full fast, go down to where you can play full. Get that really sounding good. So that's a real key, and I talk a lot about that in finding your beat. The other thing I want to talk about, which gets to something that I'm really proud of, is not only the course that I've been fortunate to create with Open Studio Network, Finding Your Beat, and then also Art of Swing, which deals with the other side, right? It deals with me playing with Ruben Rogers, who's one of my favorite people and bass players, but also is the brushes. And I have a book out with Hal Leonard called The Jazz Brushes for the Modern Drummer, The Essential Guide to the Art of Keeping Time. And, in Finding Your Beat, I talked about the brushes a lot, and I really broke down the basic technique of the brushes, which I'll break down a couple different techniques right now. And, the brushes have been something I've been incredibly passionate about. It is sort of a niche thing, but I feel that they are still important and they're still very relevant. And also the thing I love about the brushes is the better my brush playing got, the better my playing with sticks got, because there's something about dealing with the resistance of the brushes and also the sensitivity and the touch, and then how I carried that over to the sticks. So I talk about that a lot in Finding Your Beat. I mean, there's got to be at least 20-30 minutes of instructions on there, versus the book goes really in detail about the art of the brushes, deals with the manufacturing of them, the history of the brushes, a lot of great players, a lot of really cool approaches. And the whole reason why I wrote the book was because people kept asking me a lot about the brushes. And what I also started understanding was that the topic of the brushes had been written about, to me, very incorrectly. And there were a lot of great drummers that were, their legacy and their contribution to the music was completely overlooked. I even read articles online on Google saying that the brushes are a new invention, that they came about in the 1960s and 1970s, which is absolutely not true. I have in my book, recordings and sightings from 1920s and even, earlier, showing great players playing the brushes. And just so you know, the brushes were created first as fly swatters, because at the time you had the phonograph that was sort of the main recording technology. It wasn't these fancy microphones you see here. So there was a limit of how much noise and how much volume could go into the phonograph without distorting it. So you have these players using these fly swatters, and that way they could play collectively with other musicians. Otherwise, they would have to play a wood block or have to play something really small and light, so it wouldn't distort and be, create too much volume. So I'm going to introduce one really key pattern, or I'll say two patterns on the brushes, and then tell you a little bit about the last part of the book. And then, we'll bring my main man on. So clockwise brush playing is something very important. There's like three players that really taught me about this. One is the great Ricky Kirkland, who's from Jacksonville, Florida, wonderful drummer, who taught me and introduced me to the brushes. Second is Lewis Nash, who was my teacher for many years. And last but certainly not least, the jazz maniac, as they call him, Kenny Washington. So Ricky Kirkland introduced me to literally just, playing a nice basic pattern. I was kind of, playing a lot side to side and getting a decent sound, but that was sort of what Ricky helped me with, also adding the hi-hat in there. But being able to play without a hi-hat as well, right? Because you don't want to just lean on the hi-hat. You want to be able to get a good sound without that too. So we got the hi-hat in there, and then add an accent. I took the hi-hat out so you can hear the accent. Then you have counterclockwise. So Lewis Nash, so Ricky introduced me to just the idea of the brush pattern, clockwise and counterclockwise. Lewis Nash introduced me to a concept where he said you play with the tips, right? This tip here. So it's interesting because with Ricky, I just started doing this, just kind of getting a sound. Lewis said you need to really focus on your articulation with the tips. I also started narrowing my brush width a little bit. So it got a little crisper and more articulate with Lewis. Then Kenny Washington came in and said, hey, you got to play that right hand in the center of the drum. so you can get a thick sound, because he got a lot of his understanding from great drummers like Eddie Locke and Papa Joe Jones, the man himself, the brush master. So then I started playing in the center of the drum. Then all of a sudden my brush sound got a lot thicker. So that was the evolution of what those three drummers taught me. And then the other part of the book that I'm really proud of, because it has sort of 3 or 4 different elements. You have the history, you have the application, there's a play along where I play with a really talented trio and a wonderful singer. Then there's also drummerless parts of that play along where you can strip the drums out. You can practice as well. And then there's a video component as well where I'm showing you all this stuff similar to finding your beat. And then the other piece of it that's really important is the playlist. For me, the only way that I've been able to accomplish understanding more about the music, and then because of that understanding, then I get a chance to work with great musicians. What led me to that is listening to wonderful musicians, which sets me up for my guest. In this music, if you want to get better at it, you have to listen to other people. Sometimes they say you got to steal from the rich, right? You got to check out who is already playing this music on a high level. And when you check out those musicians, then you copy them, you learn from them. And then over time, after you've copied from them, you've taken things from them, or sonically, you stole ideas, then all of a sudden you start forming your own language, right? It's just like a baby. The baby starts repeating words other people says, and then all of a sudden they start sort of matching their thought to their own words, and then they start saying things that come from their own motivations, right? So it's the same thing with the music. A drummer that was very, and is still very important to my beginning as a jazz drummer is the great Greg Hutchinson. I first started hearing Greg at the age of 16. I kind of felt like it was sort of a prophetic moment in my life. I was going to Borders bookstore in Jacksonville, and I was buying a bunch of records. Any spare dollar I had, I was buying records. And so I got led to this Christian McBride record called Family Affair. And I remember seeing this, the cover is really cool. It's got, McBride on the cover. He's looking all hip, with a nice hat and glasses. And so I picked it up and fell in love, of course, with McBride's playing, not even realizing that, 10 years later, or probably, maybe 12 to 15 years later, I'd be making a record that other people would be picking up with me and McBride. So that's just funny how life is. But anyway, Greg Hutchinson is the drummer on that record. And I just remember hearing that sound. I remember just hearing like his ride beat. I remember hearing, even though that record was kind of an exploratory record where McBride he swung a little bit on it, but he also had other styles on that record. And there's something about his playing, man, that called out to me. And there's 3 drummers whose playing called out to me when I heard it. Lewis Nash is one, and Greg Hutchinson is another one. And then I would say probably, other than that is on the other side of what I do is Steve Jordan. When I heard Steve play for the first time, it jacked me up like it jacked everybody up. But Hutch to me is so powerful because he is this versatile drummer, but that has such a tradition in his sound. And so he was like the first cat of his generation that I heard that had unbelievable hands, unbelievable time, swings like everybody wanted to work with him. He's been working with cats like Red Rodney since he was 17, 18 years old. And then he worked with singers, and he worked with, he was on the whole modern scene with, Josh and Sam Yahel and Kurt Rosenwinkel and all those guys as they were making these new records that was changing the scene. Then he was playing funk. He just, to me, he represented everything that I wanted to be. And so I would be lying if I didn't say I owe so much of my own playing and my own career desires even to Greg Hutchinson. So when I was asked to put together this course today to talk to you all, I wanted to talk about finding your beat, definitely plug the book, but I'm all about paying respect to my elders, and he is an elder, even though he ain't that much older than me, but he's truly an elder and an elder statesman. So Greg Hutchinson, would you please join me on this call?
What's up, man?
What up, brother?
Can y'all see me clear?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And if by chance I'm like this, it's not because I'm senile. It's because I can't believe that we still worrying about this god darn election. Now, anyway, we're not going there.
So Hutch, I got some questions I want to ask you. obviously, man, you heard all the love I gave you, and then I'm gonna
Oh,
continue
it's
to
back.
give you.
You know that, man.
Oh
Yes,
man,
same here, brother.
man, you've
Same
been
here.
so supportive of me. I never forget that time I was at the Blue Note checking you all out, man, and you literally stopped the set and was like, "I want to give it up to Ulysses," and man, you were
Oh man,
you've been
it's
so
love.
beautiful. So thank you.
That's it's the same. Everything you said, man. I've been listening the whole time.
Oh man,
Bro. Not only did you break down the beginning of how the ride cymbal came in and the hi hat, but see, not I always say this: not every player is a good teacher.
wow.
And you happen to be both. So that's the thing. Like, see, that's what we need more of. Like,
Wow.
articulate explanation of what the instrument is and can be. And I'm enjoying as a fan. Like,
Wow.
I'm a geek. I'm a drum geek. Y'all know I'll be on here talking all kinds of mad stuff. But in the end, I'm a fan. So I'm listening. I'm sitting here going, yeah, man. Like, wow. Like, that's, yeah. If I was a person starting to learn to play drums or been playing, you got to go get that book. Like,
wow,
I mean, that's really, if y'all don't support that book, then we can't talk.
well, man, listen, thank you. I want to dive in so people can understand some things that I love about you. So I got a few questions. First thing is, I want to tell you the 3 records that you were on that changed my life, and I want you to maybe say a little bit about or as much about them as possible. First,
no problem, brother.
Family Affair for McBride. Second is Josh Redman's Beyond. That taught me how to play odd time signature. And I would say you being on Diane Reeves' record, The Calling. So
yeah,
go.
First, McBride, you played with him.
Yeah.
We came, like, I'm from New York City. So when he came to New York and he was, everybody's wow. And we just had a vibe since then, but we never had a chance to hook up and we played gigs, but we never had a chance to really do some stuff. So when the opportunity came up, it was like heaven, and that we both Gemini. So, it was crazy. And it's just like, that beat is just, his beat is so big. And as a drummer, man, you just have so much fun. And that record in particular was fun because, like you said, it was everything. Like, I'm tired of people labeling, like, these labels, man. They just, I think we are some of the most incredibly gifted and chameleon-like musicians in the world, and we can do many different things. So the mere fact that we came into the game playing jazz doesn't mean that, or playing whatever, doesn't mean that we stay there. We there's so much about us, man. And so that's what McBride also, if you think about him, there's so much music, man. It's not just one thing, it's a whole lot of things. Mm-hmm. So that was an easy choice. I mean, and George Duke, rest in peace, just let us play. Wow. And, I'm watching how you have the drums there, man. We put the mics around the drums, like around them. Like, I wanted, like, the engineer had an idea. And so instead of close mic, we put the mics around the drums to capture. That's why it sounds like that. Yeah. Crazy.
Wow. I'm going to try that out.
Yeah, and the room was right for it.
I mean,
I tried it on another session, and and we won't even talk about that session. So now I'll keep moving. You said McBride,
and then Josh. Beyond.
Oh yeah, I was learning to play odd time too, bro. And unfortunately, it's documented for everyone to hear.
Man, but you killed that record, Hutch.
You know what? It was, we just. I think the mere fact that it was something that, I came up playing straight bebop, so we wasn't really playing, I came up, that's what I came up in. So, but I think that once you have the vocabulary inside of you, the vocabulary can evolve. It doesn't stay the same. I'm not Max, I'm not Philly, I'm not Tony, I'm Greg Hutchinson. So what does that mean? I have to play who I am. And I come from a different place. I came up in a generation of hip hop, so there's all these influences, and at the same time, there's the respect for the music. So, I think that if you think about it that way, the odd time stuff, I was like, well, okay, I have this vocabulary that I know. That's definitely going to be there, but we can't play it like that. We can't play it like bebop vocabulary over this because it's not going to work. It's not going to sound right. So how do we stretch? And this is where actually that record changed my whole way of thinking too, because it started letting me know that it was okay to like check out the stuff that I thought was really cool, but that nobody else was really listening to. And so I didn't really want to say nothing, like I was like, all right, let me fall back. But then it was like, okay, I can go with that Water Babies,
Wow.
I can, we can go to David Murray, so we can go left and right. And it was like, so
Killing.
that record really, and Josh is, a beautiful, beautiful person, beautiful friend. And he allowed me to he always allows me just to do my thing, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Diane. Wow.
Yes.
Now Diane, by the time we got to Diane, it was something special with your boy Peter. Big up to Peter Martin, Open Studio. I love, listen.
Pedro.
Man. Listen. When Peter said, yo, Hutch, Ulysses, I said, easy choice, man. What you talking about? That's easy. That's good. Listen, you are a gentleman, man. You know what you remind me of, man, right? Check this out. This is a compliment. I think that you were like the Hank Jones on drums. Because every time I see you, bro, not only do you look good, you sound good, and you were always holding yourself in a way that we are always proud of you. I can't say that's for me. Sometimes I'll wild out. But I can look and see you, and I'm like, yeah, man. So, like, I give you props because you not only have you held up the end that we needed to be held up so that we can keep passing on, but you elevated it also. So we need more books. We need more. We need more of you. We need you. You know what I'm saying? So,
thank you,
Diane.
Yes.
Diane was. You see what happens, man. You get drummers together.
This is why I love you, man.
Diane was so much fun, and I'm glad that we can make that happen because I always thought that Diane was being overlooked. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's the politics that we won't even get into on here. But I always felt like things were happening and she was being overlooked, and I'm like, what? No offense to anybody else, but I just was like, yo, that's not right. So when we got in the band, she hadn't had a band that really tipped. So, we did that record and she started tipping. People was like, whoa. And your boy Ruben,
Yeah.
Ruben and Peter. So not only was it fun on the road, we was acting like clowns, but the music was swinging, and Diane was opening up in a way that I hadn't heard her open up either. So
yeah. Cool, man.
That's what it is, man.
Cool. So I got some more questions for you. Man, I used to stalk everything about your setup, man, especially when you were with Yamaha. So I want you to tell me just like how has your setup evolved? Because one of the things I learned from you, man, was like I never tuned my 12-inch tom the same way again after seeing you. But it's like you have this way of having a traditional setup, but then it's also like open. So can you just maybe talk a little bit about your setup, how it's evolved through the years, maybe, or do you even think about it?
Yeah. Sure. No, it's it's still, I still have an 18. I'll give you the sizes. 14 snare drum, the 12-inch tom, 8x12, 14 by 14 and 16 by 16 floor tom, depending on who I'm playing with. The music, with Josh, I use the 16 because we need some other stuff. All the drums are wide open. There's no tape anywhere. Nah. Pretty much I tune the drums so that they feel good to themselves. Like I used to be in this thing, like I got to get these certain pitches right. Yeah, that's always going to be the case. But if you tune a drum somewhere it don't want to be tuned, it's like somebody telling you to do something you don't want to do.
Bro, that's so real.
So I tune the top for the feel and a little bit of the pitch, and then I pitch it out on the bottom. But here's the mistake that most drummers make. You tune that damn bottom head too tight.
Right. And it's like timbali, yeah.
And if you do that, you're choking the sound.
Right.
Watch what happens when you loosen the bottom, the sound woo, like that. Now, it's like finding the balance between the two. So you can use one lug on the top head that can tune the whole drum. And I figured out after years of doing it. Yeah, and that's really it, man. There's no, I tune the drums to sound good. I don't like muddy, so we don't like muddy. But at the same time, I'm not Max Roach high. I'm like somewhere in between. And then, like I said, it depends on the drums. Like the Yamaha, let's take out Yamaha for instance. There's different woods. There's and each wood is different, and the heads react differently. So I'm maybe the birch I'm gonna tune this way.
Right.
But but over here I gotta go like this.
Yeah.
When I had the Babingas, those Phoenix, well, the Phoenix are heavier drum. You can't.
Yeah, those are
It's a
hard.
different sound.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Unlike Gretsch drums, like if you have a set of, if I got my round badge, well, those are light shells. Those things gonna sing. You can't really mess up that drum. If you can mess up a Gretsch drum sound, there's something wrong.
Man, and my favorite of your kit is the Yamaha. You had a red sparkle kit.
Oh,
Oh man,
wow.
that's like, yeah. I told you, man. I stalked you. So and then with setup, bro, real quick. You also, what I love about you is you also are raw. Can you talk a little bit about how it don't matter what you play at a certain point, you're gonna be Hutch either way?
Yeah.
Can you maybe talk a little bit about that?
Well, we all have that, man.
Yeah.
You touched on it earlier. It's where you come from, man. You can only play who you are, bro. We
Mm,
cannot play. This is why sometimes I wonder why people do certain things. Like you can. At the end of the day, you have to be who you are. That's why I said I'm not Max. I'm not Philly. Those are our influences. Those are the people we like,
yeah.
whomever they are. But they had their lives, and this is our journey. That's why I was telling the student today. I said, man, I'll show you as much as you need to know to take the first steps on your own. I'm not going to give you everything. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I give you everything, what's the sense in taking the journey?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna get your feet wet. I'm gonna take you like in the 4 foot, but that next step,
Yeah.
it's gonna go like my 4.5, 5 feet. You better be ready.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really all. That's what makes me who I am. It's like I don't mind. I don't mind making a mistake. If you're gonna make a mistake, make it loud. At the same time, there's a way of playing that we know, that we've been taught, that we understand, as a vocabulary that we know. And so you take all of that and you mix that with who you are, and that's what your sound is. Your sound. I can tell you when I hear you. I can tell Bill Stewart when I hear Bill Stewart. K. Wash, Lewis Nash. Some cats, Tane. You
Yeah.
just that's who Tane is Tane.
Right.
K.
Right.
Wash is K. Wash.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like everybody plays. Nash is Nash.
Right.
Nash is so bad. Oh,
Right.
Lord.
Right. 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 So another question, and this that because I be seeing what you be talking about on Instagram. So I'm gonna ask you a loaded question, and
Man, you can. Well, let's real talk though.
let's do it.
I really don't
Let's
care,
do it.
brother. Let's go.
Hutch, what are drummers missing today? What are and actually let me break it down. What are drummers that are young, like these younger cats, like younger than my generation, even maybe my generation, like just for a quick second, go off a little bit on the tangent. What are we missing, man?
Well, you're not missing it, but it's just the knowledge of the instrument, really,
Okay.
and patience.
Mm.
I would say kind of, in our idiom, it's kind of hard to like we all kind of, it's kind of hard to copy so much. Really, it's not like if we play in popular music where everybody sound. It's kind of hard to really copy a cat like verbatim, like because you're not going to really be able to get this right or whatever. So there we get a little pass. But I would just say that knowing where the music came from and how you need to deal with it to evolve to what you want to get to. Like we're all different, so we're all gonna play differently. That's cool. But man, getting a sound, having some hands, just the simple knowing what comping is, just knowing how to feather the bass drum. I mean, I see some videos. Oh man, I stop. I just like I tell cats, man, I feather the bass. I put a video up so long ago when Whiplash came out. I killed that, and I killed it feathering the bass drum. You gotta feather the bass drum, but it's not hard. It's so easy.
So can we go? Let's go deeper on that, because I get so many of these cats that are like, well, if you're dealing with modern stuff, I think there's a lot of drum teachers that aren't even messing with the feathering the bass drum. Can you go a little deeper? So is that kind of one of those like they can't do it so they don't teach it? Let's go there with that.
Let's go there. That's what it is.
Okay.
If you can't do it, you're not going to teach it, right? So you don't want to be embarrassed. So listen, man, I tell students you feather on everything except if we play in a bossa nova, if we play in the ballad, or if we playing some straight eighth.
Yeah.
Then I'm cool. That's your choice. But everything else, every other tempo that we play in, dealing with swing, if that bass drum ain't feathering, and then the point is like, and I don't want to call cats out because this would be so wrong, but I would say a lot of cats don't really know how to do it because they don't understand that the bass drum is in the middle of the beat. If you feather the bass drum ahead or behind the beat, you're messing with the bass player's quarter note.
Woo.
If I can hear the bass drum being feathered, it's wrong. You never hear my bass drum. You will never hear my bass drum. You don't hear it. Only time you hear my bass drum is if I'm playing big band and I give a little bump on the bottom. Other than that, I'm not doing, because the bass player gonna be looking at me all night like, yo, why is that low frequency messing with my note? And so they don't teach it because they can't do it.
Cool. I love that. The other thing I noticed, man, like you, I travel a lot, and people, well, we used to be able to travel a lot.
Yeah.
And people get lessons, right?
We'll be back, man.
We'll be back, right? But I get a lot of cats that want to take lessons, and to your point, they can't comp, they can't do all that. But the reason why, Hutch, and I want to hear you talk about this, I always ask them, hey, are you listening to the cats? Like, are you listening to the records? And they're like, well, I don't know how to solo or comp, but I haven't listened to any records. What happened, Hutch, where cats aren't listening to records anymore?
Well, I mean, this same device that we on right here is really what happened. It took people, there was something about going to the record shop. Like for me, my mom worked a few jobs, wasn't rich, so when I got my allowance, that meant something. So I would go buy a record, Blakey record that might cost a little bit. And I would cherish that record because I paid for it myself and it cost something. I couldn't just download it. Wow. And that's the thing. There's so much abundance that people just don't do the work, man. And I don't really know if they really care, Ulysses. That's the sad part.
I agree.
Like, how can you call yourself a drummer and it's just certain things that you haven't checked out, man? And it's like, see, this medium allows people to just become popular, and that's what, I don't know if that's what, I would really hope that's not in our genre of the music, but sometimes I like, wow, really? Like, what happened to, like, and the young cats, I always tell cats, don't listen to me, go back and
right.
Who did I listen to? Ask that question.
Same. Yeah. Cool. And then a couple other questions.
Go ahead, man. I'm your brother. You got it whenever you want.
Man, so this whole thing, a lot of drummers, when we're in lessons, I start talking to them about comping and playing time, and they're like, I say, hey, what other questions do you have? And they're like, well, I want to talk about soloing. And I go off because I always feel like soloing is important, but I feel like if you ain't got no hands, you're not really playing time, why should you even be focusing on it? So my question to you, Hutch, is, is there a time that cats should just not focus on soloing, or
You just said it, man. You just
tell me about
Listen, I'll tell you the time that they shouldn't worry about that is when they come take lessons with me. Because the toms and all that stuff, that's dessert, man. Like, Ulysses, I tell them like this. When you're doing the rudiments, you don't sit behind the drum set. You stand that snare drum all the way up, and you stand up and you play at the top. I got a circle that I put on the drum. Wait.
Oh, I got to do that.
Wait. You see the circles on the pad?
Oh, nice.
If you ain't in there, we're going to have a problem.
See, that's Kenny Washington style. Yep.
That's what I'm saying.
In the center of the drum.
That's right. So here's the thing. So we do that. When you get to the point that we could talk about that, we'll talk. See, cats just don't have patience, Ulysses. No patience, man. Wow. Like, why? When I took lessons with Kenny, man, the drum set would sit there and I would look at it when I came in. That snare drum was standing right there. He'd be like, you know where to go. I never once took a step towards the drum set, bro. All the time I studied with him, I think I played the drum set, if 3 times. Now, that's my dude, right?
Yeah.
I did everything on snare drum.
So let's stop there, because I just started doing that with my teaching, because
everything.
I had a classical snare drum sort of life. I did a whole thing there. I just started doing that, making cats get back on the snare drum. So should we say to drummers now that are watching this, hey, you need to go ahead and get a concert snare drum stand and create a snare drum setup and a drum set setup? Yeah, because
they don't. Most cats, when they sit down, they start for a second, and you know what happens. As soon as they start to play a rudiment that they can't get, they start fumbling, they start messing. Doodling. No, there's no doodling. Stand your butt up, devote the same. I always put it like this. I was at Manhattan School of Music, right? I used to watch cats rehearse, man. There's a dedication, man. You got to be dedicated to it. Why is it any different? Why,
Right.
we should treat it with the same respect. And you coming from both, understanding both sides, you already know what it is. So I tell cats, unless you have incredible ears or you're going to sit there all day and listen to the records and understand some stuff, and really there's only like 1 out of 10 cats that are like that just got it like that.
Right.
I'm not one of them.
Yeah.
So
Same.
therefore
Yeah.
I need to stand my butt up.
Yeah.
I got, you see what's right here, you see
Yeah.
what's in my hand, the
Yeah.
sticks are right here.
Yeah.
It stays with me.
Yeah, and I see you doing that a lot on social media too. I mean,
That's it.
you always practicing and the same, man. Like when I'm in here, like, cause I'm all about the hands too. It's like,
The hands
to
got,
your point, sit on that snare drum and deal.
yep.
And I
And
feel like
as
a
you
lot
get
of young
older,
drummers aren't doing that either.
as you get older, you got.
Yeah, right.
I feel lie. I feel good now, but it
Yeah.
definitely and you mature and you learn how to play.
Right.
Um,
Right.
But yeah, am I like when I was 19, 20? There's no way.
Yeah.
I'm in great shape, but there's just no way. You just
Right.
lose. You lose something. But if you've been practicing the right way your whole life, what you gain makes what you lost even better.
Killing. No, you're
Yeah,
right.
you don't need speed. You got that taste, that touch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Woo.
Cool. No, I love it, man. So I want us to take some questions, but before we do that, Hutch, man, like 3 things that like, we approached a lot today, talked about a lot. What are some things that even if it's random, like cats should just be thinking about right now? Whatever you want to share, man. Like
I think
your
that,
advice.
as I was saying, I was talking about this the other day. The mental is so important right now. The mental aspect of life, of really, so this is outside of music, and you got to be able to. There's more to life than music, and right now we're seeing that that's super important. So I think everyone has to get on their mental game and really understand what that means and do some self work. This is the time to do all the stuff that you don't have time to do. So really think about the moves that you're trying to make and think of goals. Have short-term goals and long-term goals, because we just don't know where we are. But if you have short-term goals, every day is beautiful. You know what I mean? If you have those long-term goals, you wake up every day thinking, damn, nothing's happening. But if you have a goal for tomorrow, and like my goal tomorrow is to go to school and teach these cats this stuff that they didn't learn today, and be a little harder on them because I was nice today. That's my goal for tomorrow. And at the same
Right.
time, shed and find some way to affect someone's life in a positive way. Just one
Right.
person.
Right.
That's it.
Right. Beautiful, man. Beautiful. So we got some questions here. One from Clemens. He's asking you. He says, "What do you think of music compositions nowadays? Are you missing some elements like swing, melody? What are you thinking?"
Well, Clemens, what's up, brother? That's my boy. Music evolves, and cats bite. No, there's some incredible writers in the young generation now. We can definitely not, we cannot floss that over. Every generation has its style of writing. So, at first I used to be like, yeah, this shit's kind of sad. But at the same time, we gotta respect what cats are trying to do, man. And
Right.
I'm sure they were looking back. Every generation was look back at the generation like,
Right.
is there some stuff out there that's not happening? Yeah. But cats will try, for the most part, I think the people that we know, and Clemens, I know you know the same people. I think the people that we know are trying to write good compositions and take it a different way. So
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I feel like in my generation, to your point, we got some great writers, but I do think that a lot of my generation is kind of not really dealing with swing. Like I never forget one day, Mike Rodriguez, we were on stage at Dizzy's and we played like a tune or something, and he looked back, he said, "Man, you one of the last of the Mohicans, man. You one of the last guys out here."
See, that's kind of rough when cats say that. That's
right.
kind of rough, bro.
He was like, man, he was like, it's so good to hear a jazz drummer, and I thought it was interesting. No, but I thought it was interesting because I've also had, like Ambrose has also joked with me, be like, "You still out here swinging, ain't you?" But to your point, I think I don't know that we're not doing that as much, but I do think that's where the music is. Like whatever they're doing now is where the music is.
Yeah.
Swing is such a fundamental part of what I do and who I am.
That's who you are, man. Just like me. It ain't gonna go away.
But I mean, and I want to ask you that, like, did you ever feel? Because I know I felt that in my generation because I was one of the only ones swinging. I felt kind of odd, but I feel like you had is you Blade, Willie Jones, but did you ever feel like the odd man out?
Not, it's weird. I always, for different reasons, but not for the, because there were cats around that wanted to swing at that. See, that's when the music was there. That's the whole resurgence. So
Mm-hmm.
that's all we was trying to do. Everybody. If you wasn't trying to swing, then you wasn't working.
Yeah.
So, but I always kept that thing like because that's really what I wanted to do. Yeah, I always did feel like, okay, well, yeah, I'm I really, the bebop shit is my shit. Excuse me, but that's what I was like. Okay, this is my thing. Like, so I was like, well, cats, I don't know how, cats really, do they really want to do this? Like, do they really want to learn these bebop heads and play these tunes? Like, so the answer became clear to me. So, you have to evolve. It's like I talk about this with K Wash.
Yeah.
That's one of the baddest dudes in the world, man. K Wash is in his thing. He like his thing,
Right. Right. Right.
And so, but young K Wash was, the truth, Lord. Like, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But he catered to a certain thing because he came out at a certain time and he stayed there. We
Right.
have an opportunity to do so much, so
Right.
it's
Right.
crazy.
No, that's good, man. Stephen Morris asked, "How do you work on making your beat wider?" I'll just answer quickly. To me,
Go
I
ahead.
think it's obviously, and I definitely want to hear you talk about this, Hutch. I mean, I feel like when I first started playing, I was coming out of more of the Philly Joe
Yeah.
school, which was But then I feel like when I heard like Higgins, definitely Lou Hayes, then I just opened it up more.
Yep.
So in terms of to Steven, you're asking about how to do it. I think you just have to really obviously deal with the hands more,
Yeah.
open your stick up a little bit more.
Yep.
But I also think for me, I started kind of letting the cymbal breathe. So instead of coming to it with this kind of prefix, this is just what I do, I started really listening to the horn players. And I remember Winton told me years ago, he said Billy Higgins pulled him aside while they were like on the side of the stage somewhere. And he said, man, with the ride cymbal, it's our job to get inside of the beat of the horn player, the pianist, or whomever,
Yep.
And so I started opening my beat up based on whoever I was playing with. So what do you think about that, Hutch? Like, what's your
I agree, man. I mean, I think we work so much on a sound that's our sound, right? And the beat is included in that. So the beautiful thing is being able to make that beat be your sound, but being able to be flexible.
right?
And that's exactly what you're talking about. So it's like, because different bass players, you know,
Yeah,
maybe that beat don't work with that bass player, and you can't just
yeah,
bulldog it.
right, right.
That's not how we do music. So
Now I do have that. Do you bulldog it with younger bass players though? Like, if you feel like the bass player doesn't have their stuff together, do you kind of enforce the time?
no, because then that makes it worse. It's like
Okay, yeah,
cat's already nervous.
right.
So I try to be like, yo, man, let's just have a good. I always start with a conversation. Let's just have a good time, man. And where it
Wow,
goes, and
nice.
I follow. My only thing is just give me some good chord notes.
Yeah,
If you want to play behind the beat, then I know how to fix that. Cool.
right,
If it's consistent with the chord note, I'm good. If you
right,
want to play on top, well, I definitely know how to do that.
right, right,
So, but if the
right.
chord note is uneven, that's what drives me crazy. And there's nothing we can really do with that. So in that case, you just try and, I used to. This is what I talk about. And I know you know about this. The I and the we.
Unpack
The
that. Tell me
I
more.
is all the time we spent in college and whatnot, practicing in
Wow.
those rooms like you were talking about, and being so anxious because we practice all that stuff. Every time we got on the stage, we were trying to pull and implement that stuff that we practice. The we is where you get to a point and you understand that we are there to serve the purpose
Wow.
of the music. And it doesn't matter what we play as long as the music sounds great. So
Wow,
as
Hutch.
opposed to someone coming up to you after the show and say, "Man, you sounded great." No, I always tell people, you listen to the wrong thing, man. Um, if you come up and say, "Y'all sounded great," oh, I'm so happy.
Wow, Hutch.
Not the me, the us. Like, cause we playing the music together. I don't need to hear about me. I don't care about me. I care about how did we sound, and that's the difference. That's age.
Wow, Hutch. Wow, you just articulated that really great because I that's exactly how I teach and how I feel the
Yeah,
music. I feel like there was a period of time from up to 20 something years old where it was about the I, right? And then to your point, when I got in Kurt's band and McBride, all those cats, then it no longer, I didn't even think about shedding in the same way. To your point, yeah, you wanted to keep your hands fresh, but I no longer thought about Will Cox, and I didn't think about syncopation.
Exactly.
Because like you said, it was about the we, so to your point. So to your point now, basically we're back in the shed, so we need to kind of focus on the I, but it's so that you could contribute to the bigger thing. No,
and this time is great. That's what I'm saying. Like we could all take this time and really improve, like not only the technical aspect, but the mental aspect is what will get us through this, man. And so, I do both. That I put when I'm hitting that pad, it's like that's my meditation.
Yeah. Nice, man. Chris Thomas is in the house.
What up, Chris? CT.
CT. Yo, Ian asked, what records are we digging on right now? Like one record each. What you digging on?
Oh man, I'm digging on a new Common record produced by my homeboy Kareem.
Oh, Kareem produced this one?
Yeah, I think so. The whole joint, maybe.
Oh, killing. Great.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that, man. I'm listening to a bunch of stuff. I kind of been going back on YouTube, checking out some of those out of print records. And Mulgrew told me years ago to listen to that Cedar Walton live at Boomers. Not the one with Holy Land, but I guess it's like Volume 2.
Yeah.
Man, Lou Hayes is playing so much rod cymbal on that record. So anyway,
Lou Hayes.
I just listened to that yesterday.
Wow.
Lou Hayes. We need to get him on one of these.
Lou Hayes, man. Yeah, please.
Cool. So cool. Common, I'm doing Cedar Walton. Renato says, can we talk a little bit about, well, you talked about the bass player stuff. Jordan says, in continuing to dig deeper into the tradition, what other genres do you enjoy playing more? If you enjoy playing jazz, we kind of covered that. But if you want to say anything else,
no, I mean just everything. My record that's coming out is not people. When it come out, people are gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to go the other way. I wanted to go and show people that you can make a great record in any genre of music. So my thing, and I know I could already make a great straight ahead record. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do something different. So I tackled I call my record a throwback to like the time of like when Earth, Wind and Fire made those kind of records. There's just musical records. So we got everything on there.
Yeah.
Everything. So I think that's what it is. It's just, also, man, I'm listening to a band called Meshuggah. I love Meshuggah, man.
I got
Thomas Hawk.
Okay.
It's like, it's killing drumming, man. I'm sorry. It's just crazy. The patterns don't repeat, and he just, and the cat, but that cat came from the jazz tradition. See?
Wow. So that speaks to something as we're kind of heading home. Would you say that if a drummer really wants to understand how to master the instrument, even if they're going to play some other stuff, they should really take the time and study jazz?
I mean, I'm biased, of course. I'm gonna say that. You know that. I just think if we were to take that and say that if a drummer just takes the time to study what drumming is and was, there's no way that you cannot come through this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just impossible. Like, how can you not? And here's the thing. Here's a really crazy thing. I'm gonna say this because if your boy get reelected again, I'm really gonna be pissed. But here's the thing, man. A lot of y'all gravitate towards Buddy Rich, and we could talk about that. And if that is the case, that will bring you into jazz drumming. See how funny that is? Think about what I just said. I'm not even gonna elaborate on that.
Now, here's
a lot of y'all gravitate towards Buddy Rich.
I love Buddy.
I love Buddy Rich. No, it's not that. It's not.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Buddy Rich is crazy.
Yeah.
I'm saying, look what it takes to bring people into the music.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. Totally.
So it's crazy. It's just like, no, Buddy Rich is we still trying to get to. We still trying to figure out.
We can't even get his left hand together.
No. And the record with him and Ray Brown swinging. Oh, boy.
Right.
Listen, let's not. We gotta give him that. We gotta give him that due.
No, he could get up in there. No, I get it. The Open Studio wanted us to shout out. Obviously, check out Hutch's course and my course. You can get a discount today.
Wait. Peter, you still trying to give our stuff away, man? Listen, no, I'm sorry. The man's trying to give us stuff away. Peter, are you down with Trump? What's happening, man? What's going on here? Every time I'm on, he's like giving shit away, man.
Either way,
smaller and smaller.
Either way, the Hutchology and finding your beat and all whatever other beat is $80 off today.
Hey, watch, my stuff about to get yanked off the shelf now.
Hey, listen, and I'm not gonna let my stuff get yanked off with it. So today, $80 off. You about to get discontinued today, and I'm gonna put out another volume.
No. We ain't trying to get discontinued. No, we don't want to do that, man.
Oh man. Couple other questions. Cats ask, how do you practice rudiments? We talked about concert snare drum, setting up a snare drum or a pad.
Mm-hmm.
Hutch, do you want to say anything?
That's the same
about
thing,
that?
man. I mean, I'm in the room. If it ain't the pad, it's the pillow.
Cool.
Pillow will get you.
Yeah, I love the pillow. Because man, it's funny you talk about that. I think even Moon Gel makes like a Moon Gel pad, but I've not found anything other than the pillow that really deals with that technique. You know, you about to show? You gonna show something? Yeah. Yeah, let us see that form. Yeah. Woo.
That's all I'm doing, man.
Yeah.
And just, I had to work up my hands, you know.
Yeah.
Because I was having a neck issue, so I got these big, this and this is all you need, man.
Yeah, no, I dig it.
Kareem said, what up?
Oh, man, tell him I said, what's up? Now, that's a cat. It's so interesting. Like, when I think about who influenced me, because I came up into jazz in the 90s, I felt like records with you and Kareem especially like y'all both played with Ray, both played with Benny, both played with Roy. Like, I mean, what was that like? Like you and Kareem both.
Oh, that's my younger brother, man. You know, I gotta love him like you. That's my dude, man. That's that, and he's hooked me up. He hooked me up with Common. You know.
Wow.
He produced my record, so.
Beautiful, man. No,
so
beautiful.
it's you know, that dude is so bad. He knows so much music. Ulysses is crazy, man. Really crazy.
He was always so see, I got to hang with him a little bit when I was playing with Mogru.
Yeah.
You know, he was sort of leaving the trio. And Rodney Green and I were kind of splitting it before Rodney took really settled into the gig.
Yeah.
And it was so crazy to me how kind Kareem was and also how simple he was.
Oh, man, he's super cool, man.
There's such a simplicity to his swing. You know,
yeah,
like
it's killer, man.
Yeah. Couple last question I see here. We got somebody's asking about Robert's asking about Paul Motion.
My dude.
I mean, I saw Paul a couple times at the Vanguard.
Exactly.
Bad cat. They said, did we study classical percussion, marimba, timpani? Carlos, yeah, I definitely studied timpani, marimba, chimes, all of that. I mean, I played in orchestra. Hutch, did you study any of that?
I studied. I was about to PG. No, actually, no. It's weird because I was in school with all the cats in Manhattan. I actually played timpani when I was in junior high school, and then that was the last of the classical like percussion stuff.
Yeah,
it just never. I mean, there was so many like shit. Chris Lamb was the teacher. I mean, there was so many bad dudes. Like it was just like I was like, okay,
yeah, same.
I'm gonna stay right in this right here. But the good thing is that's why I said during this time. You got all the time in the world. So I got all the books at home. I got a nice snare drum at home. Ooh, nice Gladstone. Ooh,
you got a Gladstone? Woo! That ain't
King
fair,
Washington.
Hutch.
King Washington used to always be talking about me drums. I was like, all right, let me start getting my collection up, man.
Oh man, see, so you got to send me a list soon, man. I want you to tell me some stuff to check out. Man,
for sure.
I want to hear how you can get your hands on a Gladstone. That's another conversation.
That is. We can't have one here.
Right. So man, I just want to, as we get into the close of it, Hutch, I want to thank you, man, for being so supportive to me. And I want to say this: you have been supportive to me not just on camera. You have been supportive to me before this was even a possibility. Because there's a lot of cats out there, you know, getting all nice and lovable on Instagram and social media. But won't return your phone call, won't return a text. And I have to say, Hutch, you have always, even Kareem. It may take Kareem a couple of days, but if I reach out to y'all always
he'll get back.
He'll get back, and so I want to thank you for, and this is before I had some gigs that people recognize. Like you were, the minute
Ulysses,
you knew who I was,
what's
you
up
out.
with that? Cat's not calling back. What's up with that?
Wow.
Wow.
But thank you for always looking out for me, because man, you the real deal. So
hey, the same people you see going up, the same ones you gonna see coming down. Just remember that.
Well,
people.
listen, brother, you have my back, and I also want to
Wow.
also say thanks again to Open Studio and all the cats
Thank you,
there
man.
for making this even possible. I know we have more questions. What I will say is, if you all want to email myself and Hutch, or email Open Studio, they can get the
Yeah, we'll
comments and
get to
stuff to
them
us.
for
We'll
sure.
get to them. I would love for us to. What about you? We should come back for this, Hutch. We should do
Let's do
another.
another one, man.
We should do
Anytime you
another
want.
one. So you let us know.
You know
And
what's up, man. Come
yeah.
on, you got it.
So thank y'all so much, and
Thank you, guys.
tune in with us and stay up to date. Buy those courses. So thank you.
Peace, guys.